Hello, welcome to the Narrabox Comics channel. Look at this beast. This came yesterday. This is going to be in the Narrabox shop. And yeah, one of the many delights that you're going to find in our shop. The Eye of Thundera. So you can be Lion-O and summon all the Thundercats. You have to buy it to figure out whether it can summon Thundercats or not. But yeah, this is a really nice replica sword. I remember my brother used to have the Sword of Omens back in the day. And I kind of was expecting it to look a lot like that. And it is plastic. I've heard lots of people say, oh, it's just plastic. It's like, yeah, it is plastic. You can actually buy replica metal ones, but Ancient Warrior website looked at it. They were selling that on that. And you have to put your ID in to purchase a toy sword from a weapons website. So yeah, it was a weird one. But yeah, I got this on eBay. And they're very hard to get at a decent price because at the moment they're selling for silly prices, and it's not really that type of collectible for me. This is a bit of fun, but I just thought I'd get this for the store because I love the Thundercats, I love the 80s, and it's a piece of pop culture history. So yeah, a little promotional video for the Narrabox Superstore. Let's have a look what's on the back. Masks. Not a big fan of masks. I remember I went to a fancy dressed as Darth Maul wearing a mask, and it was one of the most unbearable situations I've ever felt. So I stay clear of masks. Look at that. See, I'm not going to get it out. It's a shame I can't get it out. Maybe I could sell it as used. So yeah, if you like comics, you want to support Narrabox, and you also want to get a piece of Thundercats memorabilia, epic Thundercats memorabilia, wield the Sword of Omens, become leader of the Thundercats, this is how you do it. Next up on the Narrabox Superstore, we got Gigawatt. Now, I wasn't going to get this originally, but an opportunity came up to grab a load at a decent price, I thought. So I figured, why not share the wealth. I'll grab myself one and I'll stick some on the shop. So, it's worth a punt. This, strangely, I'm not quite sure why these are not selling well, because it seems a lot of shop stock had these left over, and maybe they over-ordered. Maybe there's just not the fandom for crossovers. Maybe people are purists. I've sold a few Detective Knights on the store. And I think they're pretty cool little bits of memorabilia. But I really love the fact that they've kind of given them the G1 treatment. A little backstory, his little power meter. I mean, these are really great quality crossover things. From Back to the Future and Transformers. I mean, the DeLorean itself looks great. I will do a video of it unboxed because I've got to get it out at some point. But yeah, I just thought I'd do this little video of Narrabox stock that we've got in new. You can have a look, see if that's something you'd be interested in. Help out the Intrepid comic. And yeah, you can also crowdfund the comic on Indiegogo, but I just haven't got around to doing that yet. But yeah, I prefer doing it this way. Sell you something that you really like, help support the comic. So yeah, check that out on the Narrabox Superstore. And yeah, we've got Detective Knight on there as well. So the Knight Rider crossover. For kids who don't know what Knight Rider is, it's the best show that ever existed. So go check it out on YouTube. This is not a retro toy or a reproduction. This is an original 1983 Bandai. So, but not Bandai Namco, Bandai, just Bandai Action Zeroid. And this is actually Sergeant Major Zero, who was voiced by the late, great Windsor Davis. If you were British in the 1980s, you knew who Windsor Davis was. I mean, he was a legend. He was in Some Others Do Have 'Em and Ain't Half Hot Mum, that was it. I always get those two mixed up. and he was the Sergeant Major in that show. And when they made Terrahawks, they just brought that character from that show and stuck him in a spheroid robot. And he was the absolute heart of that show. I absolutely loved Sergeant Major Zero. So I had this as a kid. Not this particular one. Mine was a lot worse for wear by the time I'd finished with it. And I saw this recently at a toy show. Paid a decent amount for it. It's not near mint or anything like that. It's in pretty good condition for a 40-year-old toy though. And these things, this is actually not brand new in box, never been removed. This is a toy that's been played with, and the fact that it's been played with is and still in this condition is quite unbelievable. Mine got smashed to pieces. I think it fell down the stairs once too many times. And I had the stand at some point and I threw that away once I smashed the Zeroid up. So this is a little piece of history, and we started doing this on the Narrabox Superstore now. We have started officially doing vintage toys. I've been to the NEC shows. I go to Vintage Toy Monster in Portsmouth, and I just went to the Space Bridge the other day. Picked up a TIE Fighter that's going to be hanging in my office, and yeah. So we got some really cool vintage toys that we've been collecting for the past year or so. We've been getting some stock so that it's worth like starting up the vintage toy section. Plus you have to kind of figure out how you're going to package things up and what the process is going to be. It's slightly different, and just bear in mind, if you're buying a vintage toy from the store, there are no refunds. It's not, you can't send it back because it's an antique, and you can't complain that the stickers on there and I want a different one, because we can't. It is a genuine 1983 vintage Terrahawks toy from an original toy line. So just bear that in mind, and the prices obviously reflect the the time and care that's gone in. See, when I bought this originally, it was severely yellowed, so I had to get another Zeroid boxed in order to, like, partially boxed to get what I needed to complete this. And the badges are usually missing, and there's also instructions in there. So this is a complete set with everything, and I don't think this one comes with the decals. I have to check, but we got a beautiful Terrahawk. So Terrahawk was the ship that sat on the back of Battlehawk, and we've got the Terrahawk with complete in box, almost near mint. I mean, I haven't listed that one on the shop yet because it's so near mint that I'm actually thinking about getting that one graded. But yeah, it's a really nice toy, and yeah, that one's got the decals and everything in the box. We also got the mini Treehawk. I just got this recently. And we got the wind-up Popey Battlehawk. And Terrahawk sits in that gap there. So Battlehawk is his own vehicle, but they always launch together. And then we've got the big Battlehawk. Now, trying to get one of these in box is quite difficult. They're very expensive, and I got this one out of the box because I just love the Battlehawk. It's cool. Surprisingly, the designer doesn't really rate it, and I think the designer just died recently, which is sad. But yeah, the designer said he didn't like this one. It was a floating brick, but to be honest, I think he's wrong. I think it's an absolutely cool vehicle, and yeah, it's got, like, I love the fact you can still play. I can't remember how to get these open. Yeah, it's got the opens up at the front, something comes out the front. I can't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, it's a cool little figures line. Obviously, Treehawk comes out the tree. It's a cool little set. So yeah, we're going to be selling that as a lot, I think, as unboxed. So if that's something you're interested in, yeah, Terrahawks. So that's the other thing with the vintage toy line. We're going to do the vintage toy lines as seasonal group lots. So they won't be on there all the time. They'll come and go. So if you want them, best to pick them up when you see them. But we'll be doing... the hope is that we'll be doing like Transformers Retro G1 series and then Terrahawks. We'll be doing features, and then we'll do a YouTube video that kind of goes along with it, with the history of the Terrahawks and the history of G1. Because I think one of the things is that toys would need a bit of an introduction now, because kids don't really play with toys the way that we used to play with toys. So they do need a bit of a, a historical explanation for their existence. But yeah, I mean, Terrahawks was one of those ones. It became a roaring hit very briefly, and they had to get toy line up and running in order to capitalize on it. But it wasn't a well put out toy line. It wasn't considered. It was just put out because the Christopher Bear and Jerry Anderson were working together, and Christopher Bear was a money man, and he wanted to get toy licensing in place. So it was very forward thinking, but it wasn't particularly well executed, and so there's not a great deal of these toys around. But they were also not in as much demand as like G1 Transformers and things like that. But I don't think that's a real shame, because the Terrahawks, like Thunderbirds, are iconic in my eyes. And though the show didn't do as well as Thunderbirds, Terrahawks has become its own incredible piece of pop culture history. So yeah, for me, it's a great toy line, and I really liked it, and it's actually quite quality as well. I used to have a Treehawk. Treehawk broke on the first day. Treehawk was one that I discovered was quite flimsy, and I think it was a production error. But it took me a lot to destroy Sergeant Major Zero. Winsor Davies would be proud of this one. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.